Hey everyone, I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Ian Fuego here.
And we're back for yet another dose of the Horror Show News. Our top story today has to do with one of the horror show's favorite creature franchises, Tremors. Hot on the heels of our review of Tremors 5. If you guys haven't seen it yet, check it out right here. But we did look at the Jamie Kennedy, Michael Gross spectacular, and we actually had a good time with it. Now, this story doesn't actually have to do with Tremors 5. No, it's actually about a forthcoming Tremors TV series, which of course would not be the first one. There was a Tremors TV series back on the Sci-Fi Channel in the early 2000s that unfortunately only lasted one sort of abbreviated season. But this version, however, is going to be done by Universal Cable Productions and Blumhouse Productions. They're apparently already trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do for the series, but they do know that the star of the original Tremors back in 1990 is, of course, Kevin Bacon, and he will be back for this TV series. And his character, Val McKee, now, of course, being 25 years older than he was back at the end of the first Tremors when we last saw him. But he will be back for this new TV series, which is apparently supposed to be set back in the made-up Nevada town of Perfection. And we do know that Kevin Bacon is hot to return to the character, as he stated in an interview just earlier this year, saying that he's interested to find out what Valentine has been up to for the last 25 years and see just how he's changed and how he'd relate to the wonderful graboids as they exist now 25 years later. So here's hoping this TV series is gonna blow the last one out of the water and continue the fantastic Tremors tradition.
Indeed, I'm just hoping they bring Michael Gross along for the ride, since he was so great and has carried the franchise in Bacon's absence.
Absolutely, I definitely don't see how they couldn't.
Yeah, so in our next installment, we have the Sundance Film Festival, which goes from January 21st to 31st in Park City, Utah. It is one of the most heralded and respected in all of film, and they have a segment called Park City After Midnight, where they finally announce their slate. We have the official world premiere of 31, which is Rob Zombie's next film. People did not necessarily like his Halloween films, but, you know, I think he did a tremendous job with both Lords of Salem and as well with The Devil's Rejects. House of a Thousand Corpses shall go unsaid at this news desk. However, it is a righteous place for him to be actually making this grand proclamation, and also, who can forget Mr. Kevin Smith, who is hot on his second installment of the True North trilogy, which began with Tusk and is being continued with Yoga Hosers, which stars not only his daughter, but Johnny Depp's daughter as well, who we saw in the original film Tusk.
Yep, of course, Kevin Smith doing another movie about two clerks.
Yeah.
Naturally.
He cannot keep away from it. It's within his blood, as this reporter would say. And more excitingly, we also have a few smaller films that I must mention, like Natasha Lyonne and Chloe Sevigny in a Danny Perez film called Antibirth. So it's not all about Smith and Mr. Zombie. There are many other very exciting outings that are going to be featured there as well.
And our next story has to do with another fan favorite horror series, although this one to some people is stretched as far as whether it's considered horror or just campy goodness. But apparently Chris Columbus for years now has said that if anything was going to happen with the Gremlins universe, that it would never ever be a remake. He made the first movie. He did not have much to do with Gremlins 2, the new batch, but for a long time now he has said that if ever the Gremlins universe were to continue, it would not be in the style of a remake. Well, apparently, this past week, original actor of both Gremlins 1 and Gremlins 2, the new batch, Zach Galligan, has apparently confirmed what Chris Columbus has said. Not only that, but he did also confirm that Gremlins 3 is officially in pre-production and in the works. Now, he did, like I said, back up Chris Columbus's claims, saying that it would in no way, shape, or form be a remake of any kind. He said, if anything, it'll be more akin to the recent release Jurassic World, where it actually refers to the first movie, but it's something like 30 years later. He said he does not believe that there will be much reference to the second movie, but events and characters from the first movie will be referred to and perhaps continued in this third iteration. The actor goes on to mention that he does not know if he will be directly involved. He has not heard one way or the other, but he said if asked, he will definitely be there to reprise his role. So anyone a fan of the Gremlins universe, like myself and Fuego here, definitely keep your eyes out for the third installment. Hopefully they'll get to that sooner rather than later.
And in our final story of the day, we are jumping into the ginormous amount of information that is hit about the new undertaking of the Aliens franchise. Ridley Scott, inspired by Star Wars, ironically, as he mentioned at a recent press junket in Sydney to The Hollywood Reporter, said Star Wars and the launching of a new trilogy is actually what has made him want to take over the reins of Alien, not just for the Prometheus sequel, but for 3 more films. The first of which is to come out in October of 2017. That's right, principal photography begins in March in Sydney, hence the press conference, and there has already been 3 title changes in this, from Prometheus Paradise Lost to Alien Paradise Lost, when they decided to rebrand the project with hopes of actually gaining some more attention, I would assume, and finally to Alien Covenant, which has kind of shown that the planet they will be going to is this Paradise Lost of sorts, with the only character reprising a role from the first one in a large extent will be Michael Fassbender's character David. And there will be more origins, and this trilogy is supposed to eventually bridge the gap between the original 79 Alien film and this prequel trilogy, so hopefully it is better than the George Lucas prequel Space Odyssey, this reporter says. But with a few additional bits of information to mention, sadly, the casualty of this new Ridley Scott trilogy is the Neil Blomkamp Alien 5, which is supposed to serve as kind of a love note to the fans of sorts. It was going to retcon Alien 3 and 4, which, or Resurrection as it was declared, and, you know, supposed to kind of service the resurrection of Hicks and Newt, both of those characters who originally did survive in the Alien universe under Mark Verheiden for the Dark Horse comics, but all of that was sadly stripped away when David Fincher took over the reins for the third Alien film in 1992. So, yeah, if the casualty of that film is the only thing that we have to lose for more Alien movies, in fact 3 more Alien movies, I am extremely excited and hopeful that they will be good, and also high hopes and crossed fingers for the new Fred Dekker and Shane Black Predator film, which officially had its script submitted to 20th Century Fox this past month as well in November. So lots of exciting things for fans of both the Alien and the Predator franchise like myself.
Absolutely, and that's as good a time as any to jump into the editorial section of our newscast here. So
much to say.
Absolutely, but let's start with the Aliens and Predator. I'm excited to see what happens in a new Predator movie for sure.
Oh yeah, I liked Predators. Did you like the most
Predators,
recent one?
I liked
Rodriguez
it except for
produced?
the main character. I thought Adrian Brody was grossly miscast in this role. I mean, he's a beanpole. He couldn't take on a Predator. It would be no contest. So I wasn't a fan of that, but I did like the movie, and it's always great to see the classic movie monster.
It's not like Danny Glover was like a big old buff Dutch like Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the first movie.
But Adrian Brody seemed particularly small. But I will say I'm probably more excited about that than the new trilogy that Ridley Scott is apparently claiming to do, because I was not a fan of the Prometheus movie that he already put out.
Oh, I liked Prometheus a lot. I thought, it wasn't as amazing as it started out with what seemingly was the creation of life on Earth and the spilling of all of those different, organisms into the water and everything. It was a good movie.
It painted the aliens as bioweapons, though, more than anything else. Like, I like the idea that they're sort of a naturally occurring, grossly colonizing species.
I can at least agree with that,
yeah.
But they do feel, the more I've thought about how Ridley Scott wants to present it as like a bioterrorism type thing. But, that's what he wants to do. He said that he wants to ask the question, who were they? Why? And I guess he hated the sequels, including James Cameron's, which for me was the best of the entire series.
Really? Oh, see, that's sad then. So he's just raging against the aliens machine. See, that makes me a little bit worried.
Yeah. Well, we never technically, we thought LV-426 was the home world, and apparently it was not. That's just where the ship crashed that had the organism on it. And yeah, Scott wants to go against... Goodness, man. Mark Verheiden, I wanted to mention this initially. The storylines that he was doing in those Dark Horse comics were fascinating, and that's what Blomkamp was actually going to take his inspiration from. He wanted to see a grown-up Newt. He wanted to potentially see an Earth War. He wanted more Hicks. He was pretty much making a fan movie, which maybe is why it's on indefinite hiatus, which is something else I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
It's presumably a casualty. There's still, 5% chance it might somehow end up being made, but I kind of have my doubts if Scott wants to make 3 more of these films.
The Ridley Scott
now.
Machine steamrolled Neil Blomkamp, I believe.
Yeah, he did, which kind of breaks my heart, because District 9, fantastic. I never saw Elysium.
I liked Elysium.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Chappie.
Nobody was a fan of Chappie, except for
so
a couple lady friends of mine that thought like the rapping Chappie was funny.
That was ridiculous.
I don't know.
But yeah, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Ridley Scott. Now, speaking of a different series of horror movies that might be getting a sequel, Gremlins 3. What do you think about that?
I'm ecstatic. I think Zach Galligan, despite doing only Gremlins and Waxwork, he was a good actor, man. You know, and I was sad that he didn't get used in much beyond like a Tales from the Crypt episode. That you can see my full reviews of those on Fuego-tainment. That was an arduous opportunity, but man, seriously, Galligan is a underutilized actor. I would love to see him. I cannot remember the name of the uncle and the wife that show up in the second Gremlins movie. That he is basically in pretty much all the Joe Dante films, from The Howling to, I mean, the list goes on, and I think he was even in Burying the X, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Galligan needs some work, man, and I think we need some practical Gremlins, because if J.J. Abrams has shown us anything with what we're going to see in Force Awakens, you can do practical with a little tasteful CGI, and that's probably the best route.
Yeah, I'd be super excited to see what they can do nowadays with the Gremlins. I love the old puppeted Gremlins creatures, so I'd be happy to see a return to practical form, especially, you know, in the first movie when the Gremlins melt, you know, especially towards the end, the last one. Well, that's the silly melting, but the first one, when he melts at the very end in the fountain, it's so grotesque and gross
for a PG movie. I think that was that before the PG-13 rating?
It might have been. It might have been.
Yeah, because Gremlins 2 was PG-13, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So, but I'm excited to see what these little things freaked me out, and they were a little bit Freddy. You know, the first one was a more straightforward, scary creature movie.
But
and they
killed people.
They did. No,
that
I'm saying,
and then
as it
on
progressed,
the little cart.
But as they progressed, it got sillier, right? Same as Nightmare on Elm Street. As it progressed, it got sillier. So we'll see what they would go for with the third one. Will it be more serious? Again, Zach Galligan said it would be more akin to the first movie than the second movie. So they'd be going more for scares than anything else, which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine with.
So I have to ask you now. I'm a huge Tremors fan. I actually love Bloodlines, the 5th installment. I thought it was a lot of fun. What's your thoughts on this TV series?
Of course I'm excited about it. I mean, anytime we get to see Tremors, I'm super excited. The fact that we're going to get to see it in a serialized fashion is super exciting. You know, I'm the kind of person that doesn't mind binge watching. I'm in the middle of binging Jessica Jones on Netflix. I finished Daredevil earlier this year, and I stay up on a number of TV shows. So to see that I can add Tremors to that list, although Blumhouse Productions did mention that they have not narrowed down what network they would be going to, but apparently numerous networks are interested in bidding on the series. So when they film it, they will find a home for it, because Kevin Bacon, coming hot off of The Following, everyone loved him in his turn on TV for those few years. So seeing him return to a character that everyone loves. I mean, Tremors is flat out a cult hit. Everyone loves Tremors. Some people might think it's silly, but it's always appreciated by pretty much everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So to see him return to that universe and to see what we can do, I'm guessing since he was more of a fan of the practical Tremors, we'll probably get more of that than we'll get of the Tremors 5 CG
all CGI,
Tremors.
pretty much.
But they were, you know, the African creatures, so, you know, they can get away with it being different.
You know? I mean, it wasn't that bad. Yeah,
absolutely. So totally excited for me. You?
I'm stoked. I cannot even describe my excitement for the 7 degrees. Is it 7 or 8 degrees of bacon?
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6
degrees of bacon. Yeah, this is 666, the horror show.
Exactly.
I should know that, man. Yeah, but him jumping back on TV, I'm really hoping though that they can bring back a Michael Gross or even like a Burt Ward. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they'll throw Jamie Kennedy into it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Although he would. I would love to see Kennedy button heads with bacon. I think that could be really funny.
That could be kind of fun. Absolutely. Yeah. And to follow that up, Jaime, I gotta know, what is your feelings about these movies at Sundance? Because I am particularly excited to get my hands on Yoga Hosers once I can see it. You know, the other ones you mentioned sound really cool as well.
Yeah. I must say, I was really off kilter about Kevin Smith doing horror, but I guess he's kind of stuck in that boat until he goes back to the gravy train of Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3 and so on and so forth. But yeah, he says he's going to complete this True North trilogy before. Is it True? Yeah,
the True North trilogy. He's going to complete that. And interestingly enough for me, his last one in the True North trilogy is going to be a movie called Moose Jaws, which is, of course, right up the horror show's alley.
Yeah,
Jaws with a moose.
Yeah, but isn't the concept for this one supposed to be like his daughter and Depp's daughter, like the convenience store they work on,
becomes under siege. It's under siege by big rubber monsters. It's a monster movie, and they got to defeat the monsters. And there's a bunch of little bratwurst size Nazis that he calls Bratzies.
Right.
So it's going to be totally weird. Yep, he played the Bratzi. Yep.
Yeah,
so he got himself in the big rubber makeup and
sausage suit.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see it. It's going to be silly. It's going to be wacky. It's a big creature, rubber suit fight by a couple of girl.
We saw that in Tusk, though, didn't we?
Yep. But I'm excited to see it again. I want to see what he's going to do this time around. So.
And Johnny Depp's reprising that role, right?
Yep, he is going to be Guy Lapointe.
Mr. Dick Nose.
Yep, absolutely. It's a really funny story if you listen to some of Kevin's stories about Johnny Depp on set, where he was picking the nose of his character, and he specifically wanted one that ended up looking like a dick.
Yeah, you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
But you can pick your nose to be a dick.
Exactly right. There's a chance in that. So, yeah, guys, we have to extend, as I like to say, a grande gracias and a big amount of thanks for tuning into our horror show news segment.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
I've been Jaime and Fuego.
And until next time,
stay scared. You sausage suit wearing freaks. Daddy, would you like some sausage?
Oh, God, that's horrifying.